My name is Garret. I'm a Professor of Gerontology here at San Diego State University, and I specialize in aging. I do a lot of work with minority populations, and I've become more fascinated by dementia. My first degree from the University of East London is in psychology, and I just basic psychology. Then my second degree from the University of Bath is on loneliness, again in the Department of Psychology. And the reason I'm interested in it is because I've always been interested in first of all, psychology, and secondly, in aging, for whatever reason.
You're from Malta, right?
Correct.
So what brought you to California?
I got married.
You got married?
So I came to America, and then when I was in Albuquerque, running my own business, I worked with the College of Health and Human Services here at San Diego State for a number of years, and I published 2 books with them. And then they decided it was cheaper to employ me than to pay me as a consultant. The books that I wrote here were related to conferences that I organized. I used to work for the UN, and we have a special way of organizing conferences. And that's how I worked with San Diego State University. And if you notice the top 2, they're just simply edited books. So the title is the title of the conference. Okay. When I start a book, the title comes at the end normally. Sometimes it comes at the beginning when it's a short book, but if it's a long book, like a 4-year book, the title comes right at the end. The more you do, the more energy you get. It's a bit like love. The more you give it, the more you get back. So, and it's like activity, like anything that you do. If you're a runner or exercise, the more you exercise, the more energy you have.
You graduated in the 80s with your first degree.
First degree, yes.
And then 88 with second.
Took me 8 years to get my PhD.
Your PhD.
Yes. Degrees are in psychology, and both of them, or the last one, related more to aging and to loneliness. And that really got me on the path to sticking with and focusing on gerontology. After that, I worked with the UN for 4 years. And then I had my own business for 11 years doing data analysis.
We see your success as students. We see all the success that you have. And we think, oh, he's natural, it's easy. But is it really that easy? Is it always like a straight line?
Of course, the answer is always never. It's never a straight line, yeah, because where you want to go, you rarely get there. You go in a different place. And really the secret of being happy and content in life is being happy where you are.
Okay.
So, no, it wasn't straight, it never is. So that's a really good question, and a lot of people get this one wrong. They think that gerontology is working with older people. No, it isn't. There's a difference between a pediatrician and a physician. Now, a physician works with children, yeah, a general practitioner, but they're not pediatricians. What makes a pediatrician different is that they are exclusively working with children. Now, for a gerontologist, not only do we exclusively work with older adults, we also take their perspective. So whenever I'm doing research, I'm looking at the perspective of an older adult. I'm not just informing them or lecturing them or studying them. I am taking their perspective, and there's a big difference between a gerontologist and someone who works with older adults. So what kind of work can students do after taking a degree? Any kind of work that relates to older adults. A lot of when we had a graduate program, a lot of my graduate students actually created their own job description.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
You know, because there's so much need out there, and they're able to identify that need and then to provide support. But you find a lot of my students working in social services, AIS, Jewish Family Services, all the adult enrichment centers. Yes and no. Let's start with the multiple majors. It does not really, it's not really that important, and I'll tell you why. Because the main conduit for getting work and getting employment is networking. When I had my department, I realized that a third of my students were getting job offers after their internships. So what did I do? I increased the internships to 2. And that increased the likelihood of my students becoming employed. So it's networking. Networking is the most important part. It's really not what you know, or it's really who you know, as always.
Or who knows you, like
that's right.
saying.
Yeah, and also when you work with them, when you intern, they can see that you're a worker. You know, you need to be both a team player, but also you need to make sure that older adults get on with you. You know, that you have some connection there. From childhood.
From childhood.
Yeah. So from childhood, you have to appreciate that people get old, that you have parents that are getting old and grandparents, but also then as you grow older yourself, to start preparing for it a little bit more consciously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you'll say, listen, I'm going to be, 60 in 40 years time, 70 and whatever, and say, where do I want to be when that happens? What do I want to do? And it takes a little bit of planning. When I tell my kids about this, I say, this is part of becoming an adult. So in America, I think there's less ageism than I find elsewhere. So it's very accepting of older adults. The problem in America that is unique here is the fragmented social services.
Okay.
And not just in terms of what's on offer, but also the funding stream. And it's complicated. It gets complicated very fast. So the main difference here is the funding of services. Ageism is crucial, but it's not as much as, say, in Europe or in Africa or in Asia, for example.
Okay.
So the reason I'm interested in Japan and Southeast Asia in particular is because they have a demographic transition that is ahead of us. They are where we will be in 15, 20 years.
Okay.
So how are they coping with it? And who's falling through the cracks? Because you'll find that it's not even. When you have a healthcare system is not perfect. So when it isn't perfect, what happens under stress is certain groups fall through the cracks. And I'm interested in who those people are and what happens to them.
Okay.
So that's why I go to Japan. I think it's intriguing because I can see how all other social services are reacting to this demographic transition, which is coming.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I hear they need a lot of caregivers. Or they need,
that's right.
But because of their culture, they don't accept that help, or...
Yeah. Although they do once they become very needy. The problem is that they really cannot afford it, and there's not enough formal care for everyone. I will still be here talking to someone very much like you.
Okay.
I'll be older and the students will always get younger. So I envisage being here.
Maybe I'll be your colleague because I'm planning to get a master's.
That's right. Maybe you'll be next door, but I'll be here. So I'm not. The beauty about being an academic is that you do not have to change, and that's unique. In all other work, you have to transition.
Mm-hmm.
But I say transition to what? For me, this is I'm retired. I travel as much as I want. I love teaching, as you know. I love writing and I love research.
Yes.
So, and I have enough time to do everything. Eventually they'll have to do it, and there is already moves to do that.
Okay.
I'm not interested at this stage. I am very happy with my research and my writing and my teaching. So, but it will have to happen. A proposal is a strange method. Yeah, not only do you have to be very good at academic work, doing a literature review, you also have to sell it. And that's a very different kind of skill. I did it for 11 years. I lived what is known on soft money. If I wasn't successful, I did not eat. The biggest challenge is what happens when things go south, when things go wrong. And that's the hardest one, because yeah, you have to produce. You know, if you say you're going to do something and you face complications, you still have to produce. And it takes a lot of acumen, a lot of connections with people. You need to build a lot of trust, not just with your funding agency, with your program manager who administers your grant, but also with your workers, with your staff, with your subcontractors. Advice would be keep it interesting, right? If you're interested in an aspect of aging, nurture that interest of yours. Do the research, connect with older adults, talk to them, but follow your passion. The worst thing you can do is dream small, because once you get there, you have nothing else. So dream big, and if the biggest dream you can think of, if you do not reach it, you're always striving for it, and that gives you energy. So dream big.